Good morning, cold beers and curveball fans. This is Chase Almy, and welcome to episode 36. I'm flying solo, and I'm getting this in before work. So let's have a little bit of fun. It's going to be a very short show for us today, as I'm by myself, so I really don't have anybody else to talk to or to make fun of or to do any of the other great stuff that makes the podcast as much fun as we can. But you guys are fans of the can, so we are good to go. So this is going to be all about the Shosen One, Shohei Ohtani, who is lighting things up in MLB and is living up to all of the hype that was almost killed during spring training. We've also got news about another guy lighting it up over on the East Coast. Bryce Harper has more home runs than 5 teams at the end of the weekend. And just words of advice, don't call Yadier Molina a motherfucker. So we'll get into that first. Yadier Molina is the St. Louis Cardinals are playing the Arizona Diamondbacks, and there has been some chirping back and forth between home plate umpire and the bench and the players at the plate for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And the manager comes out, because in baseball, sometimes you have to protect your players, and he runs out to protect one of his players who is arguing balls and strikes at the plate, which is pretty much an automatic offense, and you are thrown out for. And he comes out. Well, I guess in whatever it was that was being said, he called Yadier Molina a motherfucker. And that didn't settle too well. And Yadier Molina got in his face, and home plate umpire stepped up in between the two, causing both benches to clear. Everything got settled out. At the end, after the game, they spoke to both sides. Yadier Molina says he called me a motherfucker. That's not allowed. You can't do that. That's disgracing mothers. I've never used the term to somebody and really meant it to disgrace their mother or the mother they may be fucking. I don't even know which way it goes on that one. But he took offense to it. Diamondbacks, their manager, understood how he could take that in an offensive way. He said that he chose a poor choice of words to describe it. He was actually trying to say, he's such a good guy, or a good player. He's framing these pitches, he's getting calls, these are balls. He just went about it cussing at the umpire, and he took offense to it. I guess that kind of sums up the story. I feel like Yadier Molina needs to kind of get over it. If I had to like anybody that's in the Cardinals organization, it would be Yadier Molina. I think he's a stand-up dude. I think he's a really good player, but I feel like this one, dude, come on, man. Like, you're a grown-ass man playing baseball. Like, if that's the worst thing that happens to you, that's the worst thing that's said to you, then I hope you don't play Kevin Pillar. I hope you don't play a few of the other players who like to throw around homophobic slurs or racial slurs. God forbid you would have played against John Rocker and you would have heard about it. But come on, man, grow up. I'm sure you call somebody else a motherfucker. It's a two-way street, man. You got to get over it. But that was pretty much the most exciting part of that little deal. The Diamondbacks actually are playing quite well. They kind of are playing with a chip on the shoulder, because it's basically been said that their time was up. Last year was the year to seize the deal and get a playoff berth, but they're playing like they still have it. I think the NL West, especially with the upping of play from the San Francisco Giants that we've seen, I think that's going to be a very fun little division to watch. So you guys get out there and get that MLB TV and watch all those 9 o'clock start games. Keeps you up at night. Maybe watch it while the ladies go into bed, or while you're laying in bed alone and trying to go to bed. You can watch some great baseball out on the West Coast. But yeah, staying on the East Coast, we're going to talk a little bit about Bryce Harper, who is off to an amazing fucking start. He had 6 home runs as of Sunday night, when Sunday Night Baseball was on ESPN. Cranks one out. Ends up losing the game still. They got a little bit of trouble Tanner Roark gave up a grand slam to Adrian Gonzalez, but that still doesn't defeat the purpose that Bryce Harper is fucking on fire. Bryce Harper will be the youngest person to go into free agency after this, and he is playing so that he can earn every dime that he is going to make on this free agency, which a lot of people think he could stay there in Washington because the type of money that Washington has to play with, they don't fuck around either. They're a lot like the Dodgers, the Cubs, and the Yankees. They'll pay what they need to pay to keep those players on their roster. But the main thing that happened is the Shosen One, Shohei Ohtani, the Japanese Babe Ruth as he's being coined, and he very well should be. As we mentioned in the Instagram video earlier this weekend, you know, the last person to do what he did, where he pitched a game, and it was a great game. It was a good outing. Pitched a good outing. 2 days later, cranks a home run. That hasn't been done since Babe Ruth. So Japanese Babe Ruth, there you go. I have a feeling toward the ends of his career, we may not even have to have the adjective Japanese. We may be able to just call him the next Babe Ruth. He's that good. So he cranks a home run out. He's a decent at bat. I don't think he's going to keep it up. I think he's going to sit somewhere around 250, 280. And then this weekend comes out, throws 6 perfect innings, gets broken up in the 7th inning, stays in, gets through the 7th inning, has a 1-hit outing. I mean, you can't come up with that stuff. That guy right there, I know they're saying small sample size, small sample size, small sample size. Well, here's the thing, writers. Quit talking about your dick and let's talk about some baseball. I understand it's a small sample size, but he is showing that all of the hype that he had coming into this season was for real. There's no question about it. What he had going on, and for some reason he wasn't given the excuse that everybody else gets. Oh, it's just spring training, it's just spring training. Oh, it's just spring training, it's just spring training. No, it's not just spring training. He was doing what everybody else in spring training is doing. He's getting a feel for what is going on. He's getting, he's working on certain things in his deal. He's working on, understanding the difference in the approach here in American baseball as opposed to the approach in Japanese baseball. And I think with his mindset, he's younger as opposed to most of the Japanese players that come over. I think it's one of those things where he's really going to embrace the westernized baseball, the original, where the game originated from, not the Japanese style of play. Japanese style of play seems to be a lot more, finesse than power, but he's embracing it. I mean, he's hitting in the upper 90s with his fastball. He's got a slider that's okay. It's not the best slider in the world, but he's got a splitter that he throws that just bottoms out. I mean, it's incredible. And he's a lot of fun to watch. I don't think he's going to be making a start while he's here in Texas. They're playing the series right now, started last night. Rangers dropped that first game. Me and Emily, my baby, we went out to the Frisco Rough Riders last night and caught the Springfield Cardinals game. It was a lot of fun. It was her first night out at the ballpark, and she loved every minute of it. I was very nervous because it was just me and her going, and I was like, oh, this can be a shit show or this can be a lot of fun. And it turned out to be a lot of fun. No whining, no. She did whine because she couldn't have a cold beer. But, I think that's any time that she can't have a cold beer, which is all the time, she gets a little whiny. But she told me on the ride home that once she turns a year old, she's going to have her own show called Cold Milks and Curveballs, and it's going to be on iTunes, so maybe check out that as well. But that's pretty much going to be it for it. It's basically a nice little wrap up to all the stuff Corey gave you on the last episode 35 and a half. I think this will be the last of the episodes where we do a split deal. Just work schedules and life has kind of gotten in the way. And that's all for today. So if you guys want to check us out on Instagram or Facebook, Cold Beers and Curveballs, Twitter, CB and CB Podcast, and also be looking out because we are getting ready to start up a Patreon deal. If you're not familiar with patreon.com, it is basically for creatives like ourselves to where you can support us and help us along the journey. You get a lot of cool stuff. We're putting together some great swag bags and getting together with a lot of our friends of the show and a lot of our friends of this, of the podcast and the baseball community. The baseball community is a really tight-knit community, especially when you start getting into the smaller little deals, which is cool. Look it up on Instagram. You know, we talk about Mitchell Bat Company. A really cool one that I'm really into right now is Squints Apparel, you know, based off of Squints from The Sandlot, which turned 25 years old this week, and it's a great classic. It's the greatest baseball movie, I would say. It's a tie between that and Major League. Also, tell us what your favorite baseball movies are. Maybe we'll talk about that. Check out the Sandlot leagues that we follow in Texas and Oklahoma. Check out all the great beer right now. I am living off of Noble Ray Off the Leash. It's a Texas Red Ale. It's quite popular, and it's also only like 3 buildings down from my office, so it makes for a very nice little trip. So if you guys are checking out breweries around Dallas, make sure you hit up Noble Ray. But until next time, guys, keep watching a lot of baseball and keep those cold beers flowing, and we will see you next time.